Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the Public Works Committee meeting of October 29th, 2025 to order. Grimsby is situated on treaty land. This land is steeped in the rich history of the First Nations, such as the Haudenosaunee, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe, including the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. There are many First Nation, Métis, and Inuit people from across Turtle Island that live and work in Niagara today. Grimsby stands with all Indigenous people, past and present, in promoting the wise stewardship of the lands on which we live. Our next agenda item is disclosures of interest. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary or non-pecuniary interest? Seeing none, we can move on to the approval of the agenda. Can I get a mover and a seconder for the move of the agenda? Member Rady, Councillor Davoli. Moved by Member Rady, seconded by Councillor Davoli. Resolved that the agenda for the October 29th, 2025 Public Works Committee meeting be approved. Any questions or comments on that? All in favor? It's approved. Can I get a mover and seconder to receive the previous minutes, please? Councillor Korstanji. Moved by Councillor Korstanji, seconded by Member Smink. Resolved that the minutes of the July 30th Public Works Committee meeting be received. Any questions or comments? All in favor? That's carried. Okay, we have no delegations, no consent reports, so we can move on to our discussion reports. The first report tonight is the 2025 Drinking Water QMS Operational Plan Endorsement. Can I get a mover and seconder to get it on the floor for discussion, please? Member Rady and Member Smink. Ben, I think that's you for our brief introduction before we throw Jackson into the wolves.
Thank you, and through you, Chair, I'd like to introduce Jackson Wiggins, who is the Compliance Technician for Public Works, Town of Grimsby. Jackson joined us in June of 2026 and has been supporting us in the QMS, both corporately and within the Public Works Department ever since. To the Chair's point, we'll be throwing him to the wolves tonight, introducing two important reports related to our drinking water and wastewater systems. I just do also want to take a quick opportunity to thank any and all of you who have supported the growth of the compliance department. It's an important aspect of the town, which sometimes may go unnoticed or operating in the shadows. But again, I just want to say thank you to Brandon Thomas, the committee, and the rest of the team for their continued support in building out the department. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ben. Go ahead, Jackson. And welcome.
Thank you. And through you, the Chair, this report provides the annual review and endorsement of the town's drinking water quality management system, operational plan, and policy. As required by the Ministry of the Environment, Conservation, and Parks, both the operational plan and policy must be reviewed and endorsed by staff and council. The operational plan is a high-level summary that outlines how we manage and maintain the town's drinking water system in compliance with provincial standards. The accompanying policy acts as our mission statement and commitment to the management of the drinking water system. This year's review identified only minor updates, primarily to the organizational structure and the system infrastructure descriptions. The policy itself remains unchanged. Audit costs associated with maintaining our accreditation remain consistent with previous years. There are no fees for renewing the municipal drinking water license or works permit. And in summary, the review confirms that our drinking water QMS continues to meet or exceed provincial requirements. Thank you for your time. We are happy to receive comments or answer any questions.
All right. Questions for Jackson? Come on, somebody's got to. Nothing? Okay, thanks, Jackson. So seeing no questions, we can go to the resolution. Moved by Member Rady, seconded by Member Smink. Resolved that report DPW 2520-2025 Drinking Water QMS Operational Plan Endorsement dated October 29th, 2025 be received. One, that the Public Works Committee recommends Council endorse the current revisions of the Drinking Water QMS Operational Plan dated October 2025. That the Mayor be authorized to sign the current revision of the Drinking Water QMS Operational Plan and that the Public Works Committee recommends council endorse the existing drinking water QMS policy statement as per drinking water QMS operational plan and drinking water QMS policy. All in favor? That's carried. I think we're making it too easy for you, Jackson. Second discussion report is the 2025 wastewater QMS operational plan endorsement. Can I get a mover and seconder to get it on the floor, please? Got Member Murphy and seconded by Councilor Corstangi. Jackson, is that you again? Yep. All right.
Thank you, and through you, the chair. This report presents the town's first wastewater quality management system operational plan for council's review and endorsement. Similar to drinking water, this operational plan is a high-level summary that outlines how we manage and maintain the town's wastewater collection system. In December of 2023, the Ministry of the Environment issued a Consolidated Linear Infrastructure Environmental Compliance Approval, or CLI-ECA, to the town of Grimsby for the wastewater system. And as a requirement of the CLI-ECA, the town developed and implemented inspection, maintenance, and record-keeping procedures and practices. In 2025, the Canadian Standards Association released a national standard for wastewater quality management. In anticipation of the release of this standard, the town took a proactive step by developing its own wastewater QMS, which the operational plan summarizes. Many of the practices included were already part of regular operations. The new system simply formalizes and strengthens them through clear documentation. Going forward, staff will continue to update the plan and associated documents, ensuring the system remains well-managed and supports strong asset management practices. Just wanted to note that there was a minor issue with the attached policy poster, and the current policy will be sent following the meeting, as well as the operational plan, which had some broken links, which will be rectified and sent over after the meeting. Thank you for your time. We are happy to receive comments or answer any questions.
Thank you, Jackson. Member Spink.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. I didn't realize that this was a first and that you didn't have the CSA standards in hand when you were developing it. Am I understanding that you do now? In that case, is there much difference between the CSA standards and what's in our wastewater QMS operational plan?
So the wastewater QMS is basically broken out as a part of the CLI-ECA, defining that we need to have our own management system for the wastewater collection system. We are doing this in anticipation of the CSA's coming act that's going to say that we're going to need a QMS. So we're just being proactive at this time.
Ben, you have something to add?
Yeah, sorry, just to jump in through you, Chair. The CSA standard was released in draft format to municipalities, I think, late 2024. And we did receive a copy of that and use it as a little bit of a baseline in addition to mimicking what it currently exists for drinking water when building out the wastewater QMS. The CSA W217 standard was recently released late this summer in final draft. So, you know, the next steps, as Jackson alluded to, is continue to take away the wastewater QMS and review it against best practices, whether that be against the CSA standard or updates to the CLI-ECA as they're provided. Hopefully that answers a little bit of the question.
Any further questions? I just had, from a financial perspective, and I don't know if this is something that Jackson could answer, or maybe Brandon or Thomas or Ben. The report says that costs are captured as a part of annual capital and operating budgets, but are there any incremental costs, like upcoming costs that we anticipate, and like for training, audits, documentation? Is there anything that you could foresee as far as costs are concerned that we should be looking forward to or not looking forward to, I guess?
Through you, the chair. At this time, and someone can step in and correct me, audits are not required at this time, so there won't be any costs for that. As far as training, that will be baked into what we're accomplishing on a day-to-day. But no, at this time, no, I don't foresee any costs.
Okay, so further to that then, at some point, I'm assuming that if there's if you think that there's going to be, do you think that there's going to be a penalty for non-compliance, for example, at some point? Because if compliance is something that is anticipated, if there's a set of standards that's anticipated, what do you think is coming as far as compliance or non-compliance is concerned? If that doesn't make sense, I could try to explain it better. Thomas.
Yeah, sorry, I can just step in here quick. So through you, Chair, the initial cost of us implementing the QMS was just staff time to actually write it out. We did actually hire in a contractor or a consultant to assist us with the early works and writing of some of the documentation as well. That was captured as an earlier capital project for the CLI ECA program. That capital work has come to an end effectively. Moving forward, there will potentially be some incremental costs. So we do have internal audits of our drinking water, our transportation systems currently. We will look at rolling the same type of audit cycle through this wastewater one, and then we do have a coming stormwater QMS program as well. Those aren't major costs, but that's going to be done sort of preemptively and in anticipation of the ministry requiring these audits to take place. Currently, there isn't a requirement for that, but we are anticipating there will be. So we're going to take that on as a part of sort of our standard operating and our maintenance of this, and just auditing it to make sure that we are staying up to date and in compliance with our program. But I don't anticipate major financial impacts at this time.
So from a drinking water perspective, I understand our responsibility because we are at the end of the line, even though the region is responsible for treatment. We're the ones who deliver it. We're the ones who bill for it. But for wastewater, the wastewater is just passing through our system to the region. So I'm just trying to understand why compliance is a town, I guess within the pipes and making sure that there's not leaking would make sense, but at the end of the line, it's a regional responsibility. So what portion of this goes on the regional bill and what portion of it goes on the towns?
Yeah, through you, Chair. So again, our QMS program is only focused on the town-owned infrastructure and aspect. So we're the collection system for that. That does feed into the larger regional system. The region does have their own program as well. When we look at compliance from this standpoint, it has more to do with just the fact that we have procedures and that we're following our procedures. That when we are required to do sampling because of a bypass, that we're doing the sampling. So it's not necessarily any numbers we necessarily need to meet. It's just the practices we need to do. And then we need to prove that we're actually following those practices.
Thank you for that explanation, because I'm just trying to learn here. And also, at the same time, I want to make sure that there's not redundancies in the process, and that we're not spending the money at the local level and at the regional level. So you're making me feel a little bit more comfortable, because it seems like it's more of a town than regional, where we're dealing with it anyway.
Yeah, no, so through you, Chair, again, most of the CLI work that has been done, especially in the region, has been done together with all the local municipalities and the region's involvement as well. So we're all working together on our individual systems, but making sure that they are a part of a consistent message, a consistent system, I guess, in the region. I would just add to that internally here to focus on some efficiencies and how we can do things. We are looking at down the road, when we have the ability, kind of rolling all of these programs into a larger kind of Public Works QMS program. So that will get rid of some of the redundancies of documentation and paperwork and procedures that we do have. We've already started that process with these new ones coming online, sort of streamlining some of these documents so that we don't have, standalone document controls for each QMS. We have one larger QMS program that all of these fall under.
Awesome. Thank you. Councillor DeVoley.
Thank you, Chair. It was something that you said that tweaked my question. So I'm not sure which staff member to direct the question to. But my first question is, does our Public Works Department look at the exact same program that the region is doing and the results of their quality standards and their reviews to see if there is any impact on our operations?
Through you, Chair. The answer to your question is yes. And Thomas kind of alluded to all the local municipalities and the region have been working collectively to try and navigate the different requirements and standards that are put forward both in the CSA as well as the CLI ECA. So this goes back into practice even prior to the release of these documents, dating back to, for instance, the wastewater emergency response procedures that are outlined by the region and then reflective in town documentation. So there is always that two-way communication between both the region and the LAMs, and then internally between the LAMs as well. Hopefully that answers your question.
Thank you. And my second question was a bit related to that. Sorry, I was concentrating on the answer and having a brief. Yeah. I'll let it go. When it comes back, I'll put up my hand again. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Voulier. So, none of us like paperwork for the sake of paperwork, but I think that this is one of those things that's probably really labor intensive in the beginning, getting it all in place, but it feels like, and if I'm wrong, you could tell me, that now it's a matter of updating and making sure that when new compliance standards come in place and other things, that we are just tweaking what's already been done. So I understand the purpose of this. It actually, in the long run, probably will help us in the budgeting process and all of the other things, because having these systems in place lets us know where we're spending money, where we need to spend money. And Brandon, if you want to speak to that.
Yeah, so thank you, Mr. Chair. So just in general, we do, now I lost my train of thought. We'll go to you first.
Let's move on. Councilor Voulier, did it come back to you?
It did. Thank you. As we were talking about the other municipalities and of course, working on this wastewater policies and plans here, is this exact same process taking place with all of our other neighboring municipalities in the region of Niagara? And how do we compare to what is going on with our other municipalities?
Through you, Chair, I'd like to say that the town of Grimsby is first adopters when it comes to the QMS. We've gotten, I would say, quite a bit of attention over the past year or so with the types of documents and the process that we've been following. Many of the other local municipalities have kind of followed the same process, the same document control methods and the same framework for developing their wastewater and stormwater systems. Again, as Jackson kind of alluded to in his introduction of the report, a lot of these practices and procedures have been happening, they just haven't been formally documented. So the QMS allows us a way of putting something on paper and having something to stand behind when we're saying that we're doing, proactive or preventative maintenance activities, for instance, or that we're, continually looking for ways to improve our system or resourcing or tools.
Go ahead, Brendan.
Yeah, so it's Ben mentioned it. It's basically putting what we do onto paper so that when Ben and me and Jackson eventually leave, the next people who come in know how to operate the system. And basically, I was going to use the Bob LaRue analogy. It all used to be in Bob's head. We've now taken it out of Bob's head and put it onto paper. So,
And that's an important process. That way you don't have to shake people to get the information out of them. Councilor Voulier, did you have one more thing?
I did. Just one more thing related to that. So yes, always good for documentation for when people leave, that we know what the process is. But the other reason I think that we do this is to manage risk, right? So as we put more and more of these procedures and policies into place, as we document them and as we put them into place, is there any opportunity ever to go back to our insurer and say, hey, look at what we've done, the improvements we've made. Is there an opportunity to lessen the premiums, change the policy in some way, enhance it, whatever, tweak it? Just a thought and a question, I guess, for the future.
Yeah, through you, Chair. I would think so. What this process also has done, we haven't really mentioned it, but it's also formalized and really put a structure in for the data that we're getting out of this. So it's not just the what we're doing and how we're doing it, but it's the results we're getting from that, how we're storing that information, where we're storing it, and then that's going to set us up for the future to actually start using that data for some decision making. It's going to feed directly into like the asset management plan and how we're using that for decision making too. So setting us up for success in the future, and how we can better be more efficient with our budgeting, where we can focus money. And if that does offer the opportunity to save on some insurance or save on some of those things, it definitely is going to give us the opportunity to reduce risk, or at least find out where we have some problem areas and opportunities to make the system more efficient or better responsive.
Thanks, Thomas. That's what I was trying to allude to, that in the decision-making process, so thanks for putting it a lot more eloquently than I did. Seeing no more questions, resolve that DPW 2521-2025 wastewater QMS operational plan endorsement dated October 29th, 2025 be received. That the Public Works Committee recommends council endorse the wastewater QMS operational plan dated October 2025. That the mayor be authorized to sign the wastewater QMS operational plan, and that the Public Works Committee recommends council endorse the wastewater QMS policy statement as per wastewater QMS operational plan and wastewater QMS policy. Any further questions or comments? All in favor? That's carried. Third and final discussion report tonight is a Public Works Department update for October 2025. Can I get a mover and seconder to get it on the floor, please? Councillor Howe, seconded by Councillor DeVoli. Brandon, is this one you? Okay. Brandon.
Jackson, you want to go? No, I'm sorry. Thank you, Mr. Chair. We're all in a jovial mood because the Jays game's on tonight. So, report before you provides the Public Works Committee and Council updates on the various projects that we have on our work plan. We've got into a bit of a cadence in bringing these reports to the committee spring and fall. So we're following that cadence and bringing it to you tonight. So I thought I'd highlight a few projects that may be of interest to the committee. However, I'd be happy to answer any other questions that come up on any of the projects that we have on the list. First, I was just going to talk about Downtown Reimagined. So essentially, we've reached the 60% milestone on the detailed design. Underground works, so the water main and sewers are in pretty good shape. We're just refining the above ground elements for the road reconstruction component. The BIA, in partnership with the town, have now brought in a communications consultant to assist in the engagement strategy, and we actually had a kickoff meeting with them on Monday morning. Next milestone is a stakeholder meeting with the downtown businesses, and we're looking at scheduling that the first week of December. So just refining or firming up the details on location, date, and time, but once we have that information, we'll communicate that to everyone. As far as the overall project schedule, we're expecting to put the project out for public tender January, February, eyeing construction to begin spring, so March, April, and be wrapped up by the fall of next year. So we will be sharing more details with respect to the specific staging of the work, how the road closures are going to occur, how traffic's going to be maintained, and things like that at the next scheduled stakeholder meeting. Another one is the Dorchester Nell sidewalk and paving project. So we've reached substantial completion on that. Sidewalks are in, roads have been paved, and the new pedestrian crossover has been installed. Some minor touch-up work will need to be completed, but the project is essentially complete. So thank you to the team for bringing that one home. Transportation master plan, so we're in the home stretch of that study. I would say we're about 75% in our policy development and 70 to 75% on the network screening analysis and growth analysis. We're in the early stages of developing the study outcomes, recommendation, and action plan, and the next key milestone for that will be our public information center. We were hoping to have this completed the fall, but it looks like we're going to carry that over into the new year. Excuse me. We received some questions from our members on how Public Works Committee itself would be consulted through the final stage of the project, and had some discussions internally about how to best approach that. And we think the primarily would be to have the members provide comments through the PAIC meeting, which is being scheduled. And then also, we acknowledge that some of the committee members would like to probably get into a deep dive on some of the information. So we're happy to offer maybe one-on-one touch points or maybe smaller group touch points for those who might be interested. We thought particularly it might be helpful for the lay members to give them opportunity that the elected officials, members of council have with the engaging staff. So we'll be looking at setting up those meetings early in the new year in conjunction with the PIC. And once the PIC is completed, we'll be reviewing the input feedback from that meeting and refining or finalizing the study presentation to council. So again, we're hoping to have that all wrapped up the first quarter of next year. Last project I wanted to touch on was the infiltration and inflow reduction project. So this project aims to reduce the amount of stormwater entering our wastewater system. Refer to this on water as infiltration and inflow, or I&I for short. Project follows up on recommendations that came out of earlier studies, which have identified specific area of the town's sewer network where I&I is most prevalent. And the first phase of the project is just kicked off, or is kicking off. We've retained a contractor who will be essentially digging up and replacing a number of sewer laterals, pipes with new plastic pipes. I think there's around 50, is that around? Yeah. That need to be replaced in the Old Orchard, Whitaker, Fairview, Lakeview, Stewart Street area. Notices will be going out shortly if they haven't already. Phase 2 of the project will involve installing new pipelining within the mainline sewer and sealing our maintenance manholes. That work we expect to be completed in 2026, and then phase 3 will be the relining of the actual sewer laterals, which we expect to occur in 2027. Project cost is in the neighborhood of $9 million, and we've received $7.1 million of funding through the province's Housing Enabling Grant. So in the end, the goal is to make our pipes more watertight, to keep the clean water out, bringing additional capacity to our system to support growth in other areas of our system. So these are the 3 or 4 projects that I thought I would highlight, but again, I'd happy to answer any questions about the projects on our list or any other questions. Thanks.
Thanks, Brandon. Questions for Brandon? Councillor DeVoley.
Thank you. I'm going to be all over the board here on them, so I guess I'll refer to them by page. Really, Appendix B is where my questions are. And on page 6, B as in Bob, 7, we talk about the pavement condition index, and it says the last assessment was done in 2025. I guess I was surprised. I thought it was a bit sooner than that because it had to be, but maybe it was done in 2025. Was it not part of the whole asset management study, or am I just getting my years confused here?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's supposed to be completed in 2025. So it's on our project schedule. I had assumed it was going to be done, so that I wrote this probably 3 weeks ago. So I think we're actually targeting it to have it done spring of next year. It fell over to next year, so good catch on the correction. But yes, we should be doing it every 5 or 6 years, and it is due to be done in 2025. It will carry over into 26.
But did we not do something similar when we were working on the asset management study? Because I thought that as part of that, we had to rate all the roads and their condition and things like that. So there must have been some preliminary work done, right?
Sorry, through you, Mr. Chair. So the data that we had in place already was used to inform the asset management plan. So we used the PCI scores, the pavement condition index scores that we had already on file to help generate the asset management plan. Idea is when we do our next assessment, we're going to funnel that, push that, whatever, into the asset management plan, and that will update the asset management plan, and as we, that stays as a living document as well as we move forward. Does that help?
My next question is on page 7, D as in dad, D2. And it has to do with our downtown parking. And I guess just looking for a little more background or verbiage as to exactly what we're doing. Because of course, as we're tearing up Main Street, at the same time, not at the same time, but I guess maybe the next phase is to look at all of the parking lots behind there, some of them being privately owned, some being public and so on. Maybe you could just expand upon where you see that going and how it will like work in all of this.
Sure, thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. So we, as we note in, is it B7 or D7? Anyways, the parking study update, we did an earlier study, phase 1 and 2, which looked at downtown and Grimsby on the Lake and identified basically what our capacity is currently, forecasted for what we thought our capacity or need would or demand would be in the next few years. Out of that study, I'm trying to summarize in 2 sentences. Out of that study, there was recommendations that were brought forward, and one of the recommendations that we're looking at is creating efficiencies with the existing parking lots on Main Street, the north side of Main Street and the south side of Main Street, as well as looking at things like our Elizabeth Street parking lot, the Lions Pool parking lot, to see if we can expand the parking capacity in those areas. As you'd mentioned, the parking lots that are on the north side and south side of Main, the town owns some of those parking lots, and then private landowners own some of the parking lots. So what we're hoping to do is work in partnership with those landowners to share the parking as a combined commodity. So we're in the process of having discussions with the individual landowners about how we could potentially bring together, work together in some form of agreement to manage that parking as kind of a whole. Also, in the Grimsby on the Lake area, we've identified a need for long-term parking. So we're looking at potentially constructing a parking lot or 2 in that area to help increase the municipal supply, because right now in that area all we have is on-street parking. So we're looking at potentially putting in a parking lot to provide some capacity, additional capacity there.
And could you just put some years to these forecasts?
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. Part of the review will be bringing an action plan together, understanding that there's obviously cost to this. We have to figure out how we're going to pay for it. And so this study aims to advance the design to a point where we can now estimate what those costs will be, and then we can set up a bit of an action plan that we'll bring to council and say, okay, so here's what we think we need over the next 10, 15 years. Here's where we feel the costs are, and here's some potential funding strategies. As part of the review, we're also looking at things like enhancing our parking lots to allow EV charging. We do have an existing charger that is outdated in the downtown parking lot that needs to be replaced. So we'd be looking at advancing that discussion as well. What was the other thing I wanted to talk about? Pedestrian enhancements, and I lost it, but it must have been good.
I got Member Rady and then Councillor Howe.
Through you, Mr. Chair. 2 questions, B2 and B6. Marvin specifically, I guess. We did some work at Wolverton last year, some new, I think, paving material. Did we learn any lessons for that? Are they going to be applied to Park Road, because you're kind of in the same area up on the mountain? Weather's a little bit different, some challenges. Is that the plan? Because I know the work started already, I can see that.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. So yeah, on Wolverton, we did, I'll say roughly about half of the road was fiber infused into the asphalt. So we weren't the guinea pigs. It's been used in other places in Ontario. And the idea was to do that as a bit of a pilot. It's a little bit early to tell yet because it's only been a year. I think we're really going to see hopefully the benefits in, say, 7 to 10 years when you start to see wear. Then we can compare the one lane to the other lane. So we decided not to use that. It's a little bit more money, not significant, but enough money to consider using it or not using it. We didn't use it for Park Road, specifically because of the cost and because it wasn't fully assessed yet. But the intention is to consider it for, if you notice, we didn't do the hill on Park Road and we haven't done the hill on Wolverton. The real benefits of this product, from what we're hearing, is areas like that where you have, I guess, more turning and rutting opportunities. So we're hoping to be able to assess it before we do those hills, and then that would be an opportunity to use that product there. So, yeah.
Thank you, Marvin. Through you, Chair. B2. So the Phase 1 Casablanca North Service Road, the CN, and the South Service Road, it says that the region, and I realize this is the region, it's not us. So there's your get out of jail free card. That the tenders to go out and constructions in 2025. We have 60 days left in 2025. I have not seen anything out there. Is there anything actually going to happen?
Thank you. Through you.
They've started moving posts, electrical posts, off of the existing road allowance because they were in the wrong place for the construction. So some work has begun. I don't know if you want to.
Yeah, well, I think they might have started some utility work. And again, I'm trying to write these reports like 3 weeks in or 4 weeks in advance, so I get more information so I just in conversation with the region last week or so that they're now targeting next year for the construction. So my understanding there is the design plans are in with the Ministry of Transportation, and they're working out the final details on the approvals with the Ministry of Transportation. So that's the reason why there's a bit of delay on that.
Councillor Howe.
Thank you, through you, Chair. Brandon, and sounds like broke record. I'm going to build off of Mark here a little bit. The timing on that whole project, or that whole, I think it's kind of been a moving target now for 3 years. Any reason to think that it's going to get done in the next decade? Because there's no question it's pretty tough shape. I get it. I know that there's long-term planning. I'm guessing that the MTOs probably got their fingers into things a little bit more so than they did previously because of the GO situation. But do you see us being able to get any semblance of proper projections?
Through you, Mr. Chair, again, to my knowledge, especially considering the provincial announcement that happened earlier this year, as far as I'm aware, go is a go. So there is the what do you call it? Extra impetus, I don't know if that's the word, but like to keep this moving and to get the work done. So again, as far as I'm aware, the hang up was ensuring the MTO was on board with what the region was planning. So that's kind of phase 1. So that's from the North Service Road to the South Service Road. Phase 2 and 3, we've had some challenges there on the stormwater management design, which the town is working with the region and redoing that design or redeveloping that design. So we expect that to be probably 3 or 4 years out before we see construction there. Hopefully that helps.
Councillor Howe.
Okay, excuse me, through you, Chair. To just kind of flip the screen a little bit. Under the core functions, engineering services, shoreline erosion. How many departments within the town are dealing with erosion and shoreline work? Because last night at Rec Parks, that was an issue. There was something coming up and someone's going to be brought in. It's a big deal. There's no question it can be a very large price tag. But if we're not doing this together, then is there a concern? Or is there a working group that says any time that there's something shoreline that this is the group that's going to be involved, because it's much too big to be overlooked.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. So shoreline protection, I'd say in a general terms, there is the shoreline that lands in the parks, and then there's shoreline that lands at the ends of the road allowance. So traditionally, it's been Public Works looks after the shoreline within the road allowance, and Community Services looks after the shorelines within the parks. That being said, we Public Works Engineering have taken the lead on and the asset management approach on it for looking at what needs to be replaced when. So we've retained a consultant to help develop the action plan that needs to be carried out to protect those shorelines for the next many years. That will help dictate what shoreline happens when, and further, engineering typically will help lead those projects where there is an engineering or detailed engineering element to that, and will basically support the community services team to bring those projects forward. Hopefully that helps answer your question.
So, I mean, in my experience, even though community services might have responsibility over the land, it's Public Works that is in charge of the project. So for the ones I can think of are the groins that were built at the end of, at the park down at the end of Casablanca, the ones that were built in the other location, those were always led by Public Works, even though it's community services umbrella, because you have the staff for it. Is that basically what you're saying?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. Essentially, we're, I guess, the subject matter experts in the engineering discipline. Community Services obviously has their expertise in terms of the use of the parks and their wants and needs for the parks and the land, and then we retain consultant or consultants to help provide further expertise to the projects to make sure that we're dotting our I's, crossing our T's, doing the right design, and making sure we get the right application. So I think I answered that in a roundabout way, but yes, we are involved.
Member Spink?
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. Actually, most of my questions have been covered by others and by your presentation, but I do think I have a few. On the downtown water main project, I guess my first question is, it sounds like you are going to be presenting to the stakeholders traffic plans and presumably the sequencing of the work. How far are you on that? I'm, again, looking at completion dates for the water main.
Through you, Mr. Chair. So that is kind of the big, what do you call it? Talking point, or is that the right word? Our main focus right now is bringing forward that staging plan to the stakeholders in December. So we're pushing the consultant. We've already had some initial high-level overview of the staging, and now we're refining that review to make sure we're completely understanding how each phase of the project is going to work, and so we can come to the downtown businesses with some information to basically say, here's what we think it's going to look like over the next year. Here, this road's going to happen here, potentially at this time. The downtown core is going to happen during this phase, to give them some, as much transparency as we can as to what the project's going to look like. Obviously our main focus for the businesses is to get out there get in and out as quickly as we can, but also to make sure during the construction we're able to keep the foot traffic to the businesses. So we are somewhat unique or lucky, or whatever the word is, but in Grimsby that we have parking on both sides of Main Street. So that will be key to us to make sure we can get the traffic to and from those parking lots, and then that we can get the people walking to and from the businesses. So hopefully that helps.
And then I guess my follow-up question would be, is there anything with either the engagement or the design itself that makes us concerned about that completion date?
I think through you, Mr. Chair, I don't think in general, obviously, anytime it comes to construction, it's your best foot forward. We're keeping the pressure on to make sure that we're going to deliver on time. You always run the risk that you dig up the ground and you find something you didn't expect, and knock on wood, we hope that that doesn't happen, but there's always that risk. So, but what we're trying to do is be open and transparent as we can up front to lay out what this is going to look like. Hopefully that helps.
Okay, my next one's about Casablanca, and I see that you are doing a detailed design of the new storm sewer crossing. And just technically, in terms of minimizing downtime, is it tunneled, something like that?
Through you, Mr. Chair. So we're looking at, typically when we are dealing with CN crossings or railway crossings, they require microtunneling, which is a form of like a small, the thing that they used at the channel, a boring machine with teeth on the front. So it's that when it comes to the rail line and CN, we have to make sure that they're very particular, obviously, because they're dealing with huge freight trains that are going through there, and a lot of money and economy is running through there, so we have to make sure that we're meeting their criteria as we do that crossing. So that is one of the challenges when you're designing crossings under railway tracks.
Just further to that, the last time we dealt with that, I think, was the Central Avenue one, and at that time, I think there were only 2 companies, I think, that CN would approve to do the microboring, so it's pretty specific and pretty intense work because there's a huge danger involved in going underneath the railway lines. Sorry, go ahead, Member Snake.
Then just a follow-up about the Transportation Master Plan. I was very glad to hear that you might offer us some possibilities of looking at the guts of it. I know it's geeky, but it's really important for the future of where the transportation goes. Could we include in that a list of the policies? I kind of have an ongoing list of what we've talked about, saying, oh, we'll address that in the Transportation Master Plan, and I can kind of check that off.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. I'm hoping we're, like, as part of the PIC, we're going to get to the point where we can start showing the draft documents, right? That we can then communicate, because I know you're interested, and we're interested in having you comment on them. We're just trying to figure out what is the right avenue for that, right? So, and I'm sure that certain people are more interested in getting into the weeds than others, right? So we're just balancing on what is the best approach to bring that forward. So that's I think where we felt comfortable that, like, let's do some one-on-ones for those who are interested, and then we can spend that time getting into the weeds if we need to. And I know it's geeky, and I appreciate your geekiness, because no, it's nice when people appreciate what you do and the business, and they want to talk. What do you call it? Shop.
In terms of the traffic safety program, I thought I'd ask this here. 2 questions about the ongoing traffic safety program. One was in terms of the speed units that we have, and I think on Roberts Road, I think we use the armadillos, some way of ongoing speed assessment, and that is one location where there was a direction from council to change the speed limit to 40 kilometers per hour. And I can't recall how long that's been in place, but I believe it's been a full year, and I wondered if there had been any results from that.
Thank you through you, Mr. Chair, and I appreciate you had asked this question in advance, so it gave us the opportunity to pull up some of that information. So I appreciate you giving us a heads up on it. So, so just to, I guess, to provide some context into your question. So yes, council had previously directed staff to amend the speed limit on Roberts Road. It was previously 50 and was amended to 40 kilometers per hour. We do have a dedicated speed monitoring device on a street light pole, so it's on top of the street light. So we have we can read and keep track of the speed on a regular basis. Through this question, we were able to look at our data. We compared it 2021 to the 2025 current numbers. So the 2021 was 50 and the 2025 being 40. So I think fair to say that we haven't seen a significant reduction in or change in the driver behavior. Between the 2021 and the 2025 dates, traffic volumes are pretty much identical, 1,800 vehicles a day. The average speed is hovering around 46 kilometers per hour. Again, pre-50K or pre-40K and now that it's 40. The 85th percentile, so that's 85% of the vehicles are traveling at or below 56 kilometers per hour. And then the one noticeable change that we did see was the compliance with the speed limit has changed significantly, and it's not in a good way. Essentially, by arbitrarily reducing the speed limit to 40 kilometers, what we're seeing is more people are now in non-compliance with the speed limit. So they're driving the same speed, but now that we've reduced the speed to 40K, half the number of people not driving the speed limit has increased, even though they're driving the same speed. I don't know if I'm explaining that properly, but so I think it's fair to say that we, as staff, thought this is what the results would be, but we're glad. I mean, not glad. We're happy that we've had an opportunity to review this and validate our thinking on this, and I think it helps, hopefully, in our decision making as we go forward. And is simply posting lower speeds, is that an effective tool to reduce speeds? I don't think so. I think if the goal is to reduce speeds, there are a number of factors that you need to consider in order to reduce that speed. Reducing speed limits is one of them, but then you have to have other factors that you input to complement that speed reduction to ensure that it's effective. So hopefully that helps answer that question.
It does. I was taught it's the 3 E's. There's enforcement, engineering, and education. Engineering is something that we can do, and we can request enforcement when that's important, but unfortunately just the sign without any changes to the road environment typically aren't effective. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it.
Those are great questions by everybody. I've got a couple of my own. I think we all knew what the result of that speed change was going to be, so no surprises there. But it is good, going back to what Brandon said, having an example gives us an example to go by, so we can say, look, we've done this before. Reducing the speed limit alone, we know does not, that's what all the data shows anyway, so we didn't really need to do this in order to figure that out, because everything that you look at, every study says the same thing, that just changing the speed limit doesn't change people's behaviors. But at least we have an in-house example that we can use for future reference. And also, it'll guide us in the strategies that we use, because you talked about, Member Spig talked about engineering. I think Brandon was basically saying that there are other things like strategies that we need to do to complement the speed signage reduction in order to make it work, because putting up a sign doesn't change it. Brandon, go ahead.
Thank you. It just kind of triggered a thought in my mind. As part of the TMP Transportation Master Plan, we are developing, we're enhancing. So we had an existing traffic calming policy. we're reviewing that policy and bringing it up to current standards. The idea of that traffic calming warrant policy is it gives us a matrix for when we receive complaints or concerns about speeds, what is the logic we use to determine what the appropriate measures are, and if appropriate measures are warranted, kind of thing. So it's essentially a flow chart that says, you know, I won't get into the details because it's too nerdy, but you know, it helps guide our decisions on what is the right choice to control the traffic or to help speed. So we will be bringing that forward as through the TMP, and the hope is that, you know, council will endorse that, buy into that, so then our decision making in the future will be run it through our warrant criteria. What does the warrant criteria say? Here's what staff recommend, because it's based on that warrant criteria or the policy that we've developed that we all kind of agreed on.
So further to that, a flow chart would look like if this, then this. So, you know, if the 85th percentile is this, or if the outliers are at this point, but that's kind of what we already do. I mean, or what you already do. That's what we did on Lake Street. We saw that there were extremes. So, you know, all of the data showed that speeds were, the really high speeds were really high, even though the averages were not that, well, the averages were pretty high too, but the really high were really high on Lake Street. So we put all the traffic calming measures in place in order to reflect what we saw in that data. This is not new, but having the TMP give us a standard and practice for it means that you can, as a staff, say, this is what our TMP tells us to do. We have this matrix, so that way you don't have people coming with a one-off repeatedly and demanding speed changes. You can always go back to that and say, we have something that says that this is what we do in this case here, and we have a policy. So I like that approach to it. Go ahead, Brendan.
Yeah, and what we're doing through Mr. Chair is the decision matrix that we're creating with assistance from the consultant is helping us fine tune the data, the triggers, the warrants that we have specific for Grimsby, because our roads, you know, if we tried to implement the same standards as Toronto, which their volumes are much higher and much different, it's not going to fit for Grimsby. So what we're trying to do is refine or tune that warrant matrix to make sure it's specific to Grimsby. So I'm hopefully I can share more as that policy comes forward.
Yeah, that's kind of the whole point, is to make sure that it's specific for Grimsby. So that's excellent news. I had a lot of the same questions that other people had regarding the Casablanca Boulevard reconstruction. Again, we know it's a regional project, but we really need to get them to lock in on a firm date. Also, from a communication perspective, once that project begins, it's going to really impact transportation within the municipality. That parcel of land is one of the most heavily used in Grimsby. Whether it's people coming from the mountain, coming down and using that to get on the highway, the entire west end of Grimsby using that. We've got all the new construction in Grimsby on the lake that uses that to get on the highway. So it's going to require a huge change in people's patterns that needs to be communicated ahead of time. The region keeps changing their date. When they get that date, and if you can light a fire under them to give us a date, we can start communicating that as a municipality, because despite the fact that it's a regional project, people are going to look at the town of Grimsby and say, why is the town doing this now, even though it's not the town? So we need to make it clear to the region how important a project that is and the impact that it'll have on everyday people going to work. I drive by there at least 4 times a day, and in the morning and in the evening. Well, in the evening, there are vehicles backed onto the highway already at around 5 o'clock. The people getting off the highway, if there's a red light, are backed up onto the QEW, getting off the QEW. So a change to that area is going to have a huge impact. As far as the stormwater management strategy is concerned, we all know that most of us know, it's basically a water course running through there. When it rains, it's kind of a creek that comes down the escarpment that east side of Casablanca Boulevard ditch serves as a water course, and it gets full. It's full to the top. It's at capacity. So that's going to be a significant project for the region to deal with. Go ahead, Brandon.
Yeah, just if I can pick up on that. So part of the challenge in the back and forth that we've had between the region and ourselves is the current design, or the design that was being brought forward, was to maintain the existing outlet that goes through the backyards of on Vine and Gage. And so the town was essentially stepped in and said, well, we're a bit concerned about that approach. So, through conversations with the region and ourselves, we've agreed to take that away and allow the town to do further assessments and provide a design that would create a new crossing across the CN rail to remove the additional drainage going through those backyards.
Okay, now, in other places in town, and kind of, because later on in your report at F6, you talk about stormwater pond rehabilitation. Has there been given any thought to a stormwater pond being created to deal with the stormwater on the south side of the, because we have them all over town. We have one in the Escarpment Estates community that, has any thought been given to creating a stormwater pond to deal with the 100-year storm in that case? Because, like you said, it is an ongoing issue.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. So originally, the environmental assessment that was done by the region for the road looked at a number of alternatives, and some of those alternatives included putting a pond in at the, I think it was at the future regional transit station on the end of Livingston Avenue. The current design is, what we're looking at is what we call a super pipe. So the pipe is oversized to provide additional capacity that acts as basically a stormwater management pond underground. So that's currently the design that we're looking at, to retain as much water as we can to help sure that they're not providing flooding downstream. Make sense?
Yeah, so, I mean, the changes to the roadway are going to mean a different flow of water as well, because now the surface takes up a lot of that and slows it down. When you pave more, that means the water flows faster. It's going to change it. So I'm glad to hear that's all being considered. I'm not an engineer, but it doesn't take a rocket science to know that when you pave, it changes the way the water flows. As far as stormwater pond rehabilitation is concerned, do we have regular inspection cycles for stormwater ponds? Because, every once in a while, I have complaints about odors from stormwater ponds. Stormwater ponds that were designed to drain most of the time sometimes become ones that actually pond permanently. Like the Escarpment Estates one, for example, was one that in the design phase, when we were talking about that development, was not supposed to be a permanent pond. It was supposed to be, a 5-year or 10-year pond, and now it's a pond. So if you want to speak to that briefly. I'm sorry, I don't want to take up a lot of time, but I do have some questions.
No, I like talking stormwater management ponds. Talking our language here. So the first question was, do they require regular maintenance? The answer is yes. We do annual inspections to look at the vegetation, make sure the inlets and outlets are clear. We also do less infrequent investigations or inspections to determine the sedimentation level within the pond. So ponds, essentially, the wet ponds are designed to store all the grit and grime that comes off the road, and it sits in a forebay that we have to come in and clean out every 5, 10, 15 years to bring capacity back and take that stuff away. So that's part of the current 5 or 6 year program to clean the forebays for a lot of those ponds.
That all makes sense. The other question I had was regarding water and billing modernization, and this might be a finance question, but we were in the process of, or pretty close to completing the new water, the meter replacement. I can't remember how many we were told were left. There was like 30 or something that hadn't been done yet. how is the public being informed about, well, I guess that's kind of a finance question, so I want to ask that. Does the completion of the metering replacement allow us to go to a more frequent billing system? Because, again, when water bills were subsidized by the taxpayer, which I didn't agree with, by the tax bill, which I didn't agree with, I think it should be the way that it is. Water bills were $100 every 4 or 5 months, every 4 months, $150. Now they are $600 and $700 every 4 months. So getting a bill every 4 months is overwhelming, and I'd like to move to either a monthly or bi-monthly. Bi-monthly, I don't mean twice a month, I mean every 2 months, because bi means so many different things for some ridiculous reason. But I mean every 2 months, so 6 bills a year instead of 3 bills a year, so people can manage their bills. My water bill is more than my gas bill. My water bill is more than my electrical bill. So, except for in the summer when my air conditioning on, my water bill is higher than that. So, is there a potential to move to a more frequent system? And if you can't answer that, I'll ask Tony when we're going through budget time.
Yeah, through you, Chair. Just to touch quick on the water billing modernization project. So the current meter exchange program that was undertaken is currently, I want to say, just above 90% complete right now on meters installed. So that's tapering down and is on track to complete as scheduled. As far as moving to the bi-monthly billing, I also understand, and Tony and the finance team can update further on it, but the plan is still, I believe, to try and get that initiated for January of 2026. The AMI component of this, which is the gateway or the collectors that are being installed, is going to be starting very soon. So we just are waiting for some final sign-offs on engineering drawings for the locations for those. And that will be installing 4 gateways or collectors within the town of Grimsby. So we're approaching completion on that project, and if things stay on track, then we will be looking at hopefully, January for the starting of that bi-monthly billing. And just to get to, yes, the increase of water is going up there, but we need to keep in mind too, it now does have that wastewater component attached to it as well. So it's not just strictly your wastewater. You are paying for your wastewater as a part of your water consumption as well. So
I understand that. We need to communicate that as well as possible to people, and that's what I try to do. I just want to make the water bill more easier for people to deal with, that's all. The other things that you mentioned were the Bell fiber upgrades, which led me to think about the Cogeco ones that are going on around town, because Cogeco is also doing that now. I don't know if it involved the town or if it's just regional roads, but they've ripped to shreds the shoulders along Main Street. I've gotten lots of complaints from my neighbors and people all along Main Street of the damage that was done to the grass and the shoulders. What can the town do to follow up with those project managers or Cogeco to ensure that, because Bell actually did a really good job of making sure that anything that they moved was put back, anything that they dug up was reseeded or replanted. I could, maybe not all over town, but from anecdotally what I saw, they did a pretty fair job. I want to make sure that Cogeco is doing the same thing, and so how can we make sure that that is happening, Brandon?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. So I'm not sure if the work is specific to a fiber install or if it's a utility relocations in advance of the road reconstruction works that's happening in the future. So I'd be happy to take that away, your concerns away. I'll make a note for the team, and we can follow up with the region and Cogeco or whoever is doing that work, just to make sure that they are restoring it properly. And yeah, so we'll follow up on that.
Okay, and the last one, I promise, we had lots of discussions about, people talked about the downtown water main project, the parking in the downtown. We've discussed access to rear entrances on some of the buildings downtown, some of the downtown businesses. Some of them have rear entrances, others don't. But I would have liked to see, and I'll bring it up at budget time as well, but if you can, kind of get a spark started, something in place where we incentivize businesses to enhance the back of the building too. Because if we're talking about those parking lots as, you know, as a better shared space, part of that would be accessing those buildings. I like the Main Street entrance. Don't get me wrong, I prefer the Main Street, but this is an opportunity to make everything, to make it work better. One of the most frustrating experiences I had was when Giant Tiger kind of closed off their Main Street entrance and focused on the rear entrance, because everything you want in a downtown business is for people to be walking the streets as a result of that business there. But this is an opportunity to kind of build on those rear entrances. So I'd like to see us help those businesses out, or at least encourage them to seek other ways for people to get there while the water main project's happening. Go ahead, Brent.
Yeah, no, I think that's one of the outcomes that they want to look at as part of that study. The idea is in the parking side of things is, can we enhance the parking lots to be a little bit more pedestrian friendly, to make sure that to give it the rear facades of the buildings, the same Main Street feel that you have on the fronts of the building. So can you get like 360 use of the buildings, that it's not only the front, but it's also the back. So we'll certainly be looking at if there's opportunities to promote that with the business owners, and to what that will look like, I'm not sure yet, but I certainly something that we'll be looking at.
And I understand there are staffing impacts to that for businesses, because I remember when the IDA was where it was originally, and they had a rear entrance and a front entrance. You know, you're worried about things going out the back and having to have double the staff because you have two entrances. I get all that. But if we can help out or encourage that, I'd love to see that. I'm sorry to take up so much time. I have other questions, but I'll send them to you guys. I wanted to just thank you for the report. These reports are always really helpful. They're great for me to be able to answer questions when people ask me them. They save us having to ask you a million questions along the way. They probably lead to many more questions as well. But this is the thing about the committee system that I love. It's the educational component. It allows all of us to learn about what you're doing. It allows us to share that information. It makes us, I'm not going to say a whole lot smarter, but a little bit smarter. And I think all of us want to learn where our money's being spent. Public Works is a large portion of where our money's being spent, because that's a lot of what the town does. And so the more information we share, the more we get this out there, the better we become as a municipality. So thanks for all that. I have a motion moved by, it was quite a while ago, Councillor Howe, and seconded by Councillor DeVoley. Resolved that report DPW 2523 Public Works Department update October 2025, dated October 29th, 2025, be received for information. All in favor? That's carried. There's no correspondence. Is there any other business pertaining to the committee? Councillor DeVoley, Councillor Howe, and then Member Smink.
Thank you. I was just holding these three miscellaneous questions near the end. And I do just have three. To start with, I was following the order of the reports, and did we lose DPW 25-22? The accountant, of course, had to counter numbers.
Thanks, I got a chuckle out of that, yes, because I wondered, will anyone notice? Yes, we did. It's hung up in cyberspace. I hit a wrong button as we produced the reports in eScribe, and then I have to say to the clerk, hey, I hit the wrong button. They say, don't worry about it, no one will notice. So.
Oh, dear. You'd think after at these few years now, they would know better. There's always someone who's counting, right? My other two questions, though, hearing a number of comments from residents, and I've noticed it myself coming down Park Road, there's often a sewer smell that comes through there. Then it goes away, then it comes back like the next week. Do we know why it's happening, and is there anything that can be done to stop it?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. There is a pumping station. So the sewage from Smithville gets pumped under pressure to Park Road, and then it outlets into a gravity main, and then goes down the hill. At times, there can be the force main or the pump under pressure can create hydrogen sulfide, I believe it is. So it creates a bit of an odor. The region, it comes and goes from time to time. We usually direct those concerns to the region, and they do have odor control measures that they can put into place to help reduce those odors. So if you receive those complaints, send them our way, and we can put them in touch with the region and have them look into it. So they are valid. Yes, from time to time you will get those orders.
Thank you. My last question. I know I'm going to say this was a few weeks ago. I think you were doing some testing on Main Street. It is truly a frivolous question, but I'm just so curious. You were doing some kind of boring to locate train tracks, perhaps. And just curious as to how that happened and what came out of that.
Maybe I'll start through you, Mr. Chair. I'll start, and then I can look to Marvin. But essentially, we did a borehole investigation. So we drill under the ground. We want to know before we start digging what's under the ground. So we're aware of how that material can be reused, or it has to be pulled away, and we have to put stone in, that kind of thing. If there's any contaminants, oil, gas, that kind of thing, it tells us where we have to truck that material. So essentially helps with our design, making sure that we're as ahead of the game as we can be as we move into construction. In terms of the train tracks, there was an old, I think it was called Hamilton to Grimsby electric rail or something like that used to run down there. We have done test pits to try to verify is it still there? What is there? I'll hand off to Marvin, and he can say what we found so far.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. So like to build off what Brandon was saying, so one of the tasks was to find the location of these train tracks horizontally and then also vertically, like what's the makeup? So if we're having to cross them from one side of the street to the other, what does that look like? We weren't terribly successful with locating them, so there is some more investigation work planned. We know they exist. We found it through a water main break within the last year, so just by luck, by digging down, repairing the water main, like they were exposed. We have a photo so they do actually exist. Do they exist throughout the whole downtown corridor? We're not sure, so we have to do some more investigation work. Based on what we found through the water main break, I don't think there's any concerns about crossing them like perpendicularly. But yeah, there's still some more work to do to find out the limits. So yeah, thanks.
It's like an archaeological dig now for you, right? Thank you.
Councillor Howe.
Thank you, through you, Chair. Brandon, Skarma Crossing, have we heard anything from our friends down there at the region?
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. I haven't received an update recently, but I can certainly follow up, and I know it's, a priority for the town, so I can certainly follow up with the region and find out where things are at on that.
Member Spink.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Just another question, perhaps asking for a follow-up from the region, but associated with traffic calming. I know that we've all heard that the province is talking about getting rid of the automated speed enforcement, which was, the reason that they went to dropping in the community safety zones to 40 kilometers per hour on Main Street, and we had numerous discussions about this. I just wondered if you had any indication or correspondence with the region in terms of what their plans are, or if that's just all on hold. Thank you.
So yeah, I can, thank you, through Mr. Chair. I can update you on that one. We actually talked about it at our Public Works officials last week, I think. So so I'll give you the best update that I have to date is, so as you know, as you had mentioned, the province has introduced legislation to remove municipalities' ability to use automated speed enforcement devices to traffic as a traffic calming measure. Understand if the bill passes that changes would come into effect November 14th. So we understand that the province is also bringing forward additional standards with respect to school zone signage. and that may come with provincial funding as well to support the installation. So regional staff have indicated that they will need to review and update their standards after all the regulatory changes are implemented. So there's likely no immediate changes until they understand what those standards are going to say and what the funding implications are going to be as well. In terms of, I know there were specific requests of can we convert the school zones to flashing 40s instead. So at this time, they haven't made any decisions on that, but we will be consulted through that process. So it's kind of a bit in limbo until the regulations come out. But yeah, so thanks for that question. But yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Cristangi.
Thank you, through Chair. Again, regional roads, but I've had a lot of complaints and a lot of concerns about the relining of Christie Maple in Ontario. There's a lot of concerns, but one of the biggest concerns was zero communication that was going to happen, why that happened, and it happened on Thanksgiving weekend. All of a sudden, people are driving and the lane is gone. So I think a lot of residents were caught off guard that was going to happen, and all of a sudden, now it's a change. So if you have any insight on that, and perhaps we could communicate to the region that we need better communication when things like that happen.
Through you, Mr. Chair. So I can't blame the region or MTO on this. All three parties were involved in these changes. They actually go back probably 5 or 6 years that we had been in conversation with the Ministry of Transportation with respect to relining those roads. I can tell you the reason why it was done was to help with safety on there. They've essentially reduced the outside lanes to provide a bit of a buffer between the lane of travel and the edge of the bridge. Essentially helps with visualization for vehicles who are kind of stopped at the intersections looking down because they only have to deal with one lane of traffic rather than two. Also helps with pedestrian safety and things like that because it's more of a buffer between the traveled lane of traffic and the sidewalk there. So recognize that, yeah, we probably could have done a better job of communicating that. And to be honest with you, it came as a surprise to me because I had totally forgot that we had asked for that. So, but Michael reminded me that yes, going back 5 or 6 years, we had asked for that, and they said, yeah, wait until we resurface it, and then we'll do it. So it was a bit of a drop in the ball on our part of not giving everyone a heads up. But so I apologize. Sorry.
Just so you know, nobody likes it. Surprise. Might get some emails now.
Thanks, everybody. Great discussions tonight, great questions. The train track discussion, I remember when they redid the hill a long time ago, and Councillor Howe might remember, they did find tracks there in front of the old Radio Shack and Canadian Tire and stuff. So where the new construction's happening, they were found there. I'm curious. I thought that they had taken them all out. This is one of those LaRue questions because he knows where all the bodies are buried. So he also knows where all the tracks are buried. Give him a call. He can probably tell you. Serious and boring. He can probably tell you exactly where they are. Thank you again, everybody, for your great questions, thoughtful discussion. The next meeting of Public Works is scheduled for Wednesday, November 26, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. The meeting is adjourned, and go Blue Jays.